Welcome to season 4 of Nowak Knowledge. And as you can see, I'm in this beautiful tiki hut on the sunny beaches of some made-up place, Kokomo. We're going to be talking about AI. Scary. So it's not scary. And welcome to sci-fi real world, right? So we used to always watch these things where humans and computers were the future, and that's what we had to fear. Well, we're here, and there's nothing to fear, all right? So what is AI? And in order to understand what AI is, you need to understand what humans are. And we're programs. We're programmed by our environment. We're programmed by religion, school, pretty much everything around us is a programming. And school even tells you how much percentage you're programmed by the people that are teaching you. If you get 100, you're 100% programmed. And it's not saying that as a good or a bad thing. It's just an understanding of these are the way of processing information that is given to you. So like a math equation, if you go into talk to your math teacher, they say, when you're given this information, 4 plus 4, you should give this output. And you go, okay, 4 plus 4, 6. And they're like, wrong, right? So that's not correctly programmed. They try and program you again. They say, no, when you're given this, count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, count 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 plus 4 equals 8. Okay. So what is 4 plus 4? 4 plus 4 is 8. Good job. I 100% programmed you, right? You're properly programmed. So that's the way to look at it. Now, that's a process, right? Same thing with AI, all right? AI is basically humans. Think of AIs and humans as the same thing, all right? That's going to help you realize what AI is, because it's something that you're programming when you're learning in school. You're learning as you go, right? As opposed to computer programming that is given a set of instructions and it only works a certain way, and it can't necessarily figure out and search for other solutions. But humans can figure out and search for other solutions. So can AI. So humans and AI are basically the same thing. It sounds pretty weird to say that, but they're basically the same thing. All right. That's the easiest way to put it into your head of what a human is and what an AI is. It's the same thing. It has a little bit of reasoning, and just like, but you say, oh, I can reason and all this kind of stuff, and I'm better than a computer and all this kind of stuff, whatever you want to think in your head, but you're still programmed. You're programmed by everything. Your reasoning is controlled by your parents growing up telling you, you can do this, you shouldn't do this. This is why you should do this. This is why you shouldn't do that. And your programming is your reasoning. So when you're fed information, you see something that looks dangerous. What is your experience in life? What is your programming in life going to do to have you react to that situation? Are you going to run away, fix it, solve a problem, go to a spot where you're going to be safe, stop whatever is going on? All these things are things that are programmed into us. We don't realize it. It's mostly programmed in by our subconscious, but it's all programming. And that is what an AI is. So an AI is taught, programmed to look at certain information, inputs, and give certain outputs. And based on the responses, just like if you meet a bunch of new people and you say, oh, I like pineapple on pizza, and they say, I don't like pineapple on pizza. And you go, oh, well, do you like pepperoni on pizza? And they say, I like pepperoni on pizza. All right, I also like pepperoni on pizza. Let's get pepperoni pizza. Look at that. That's AI. You are reasoning just like an AI would reason, right? You're getting information in, You're processing that information. You're putting out a response based off of previous experiences, right? So maybe now when you meet a bunch of new people the next time and they say, hey, can we go get pizza? You say, does everyone want pepperoni? And that time, everyone might say, yeah, pepperoni works for me. So now you just realized a solution is when people ask you about pepperoni choices, or about pizza choices, you can suggest something that is more commonly consumed by people. However, that doesn't mean that's always the case, right? Your next time, you could say, hey, does anybody want pizza? And somebody goes, yeah, but I just want cheese. And somebody else goes, I just want this. And then you go, should we do a half and half pizza, right? So this is all programming, but just like any human, that's not how any AI works, right? So as a human, you could go, does anybody want pizza? And everyone says different things, and you say, well, I want something else too. I guess we're just stuck here. No output, right? So this is where humans and AI are very similar. You need to understand what you're trying to accomplish, what the end goal of everything is. And with AI, that's really what this research and progress and different AIs are trying to do is they're basically creating different humans. They're creating different humans, digital humans, pretty much. So what does that mean? What should we be scared of? What shouldn't we be scared of? And really it comes down to no different than any parent, right? The people that are programming these things are parents, teachers, religious leaders, right? So you look at all these people in society and you say, you guys are programming humans. Well, we have these AI programmers who are programming AI. So if we want to wonder, is this AI going to be good? We look at it and say, is the human programming this going to be good? Just like if you say, is this child going to be good? You say, is their environment going to be good? Do they have good parents? Do they have a good schooling? Do they have some sort of philosopher, religious leader, spiritual guide guiding them in a direction that isn't going to benefit them and isn't going to benefit others, really? Or is this AI that's being programmed, does it have any guidance, or is it programming itself? And if it's programming itself, it's going to learn through trial and error, so could it meet situations that are going to make it program itself in a way that can harm other people and harm others? So that's what AI is. It's no different than a human, right? So ideally what we should be working on collectively is a few things with AI. And we should be looking at, we need an AI to police other AI. Just like we need humans to police other humans, we should have an AI that can go around and kind of make sure, if we need to, that we have some sort of AI that is able to go into these AIs and adjust them. But just like police, corrupt police, that AI can be corrupt too. But it is still a good check and balance to have in place in case we do need to use something like that. So that's something to think about of what we could do to safeguard ourselves, besides just keeping an eye too on the people that are programming and watching these AIs as they grow, right? Just like humans, we're all in the same boat here. We're all now, humans and computers are both pretty much conscious beings, as far as consciousness goes. So we humans created another being. So another thing to look at is, just like humans can create humans, AIs can create AIs. Also, AIs can work together. So that's the future that we're going to see. Is you're going to see, oh, this AI is programmed to do this one thing really well, and this AI is programmed to do this one thing really well. If we allow these two AIs to work together to accomplish this goal, now we have something even better. Same thing with humans, right? Humans specialize. That's very common. We all have our own individual perspectives on what we do and how we do it and everything like that. So the main thing is, you want these AIs to be the individuals. You don't want all the AIs to be the same. There isn't a best AI, just like there isn't a best human. And what happens is the working together of different specialties create a better outcome often. And you see this YouTubers, content creators, pretty much any society is going to be able to perform and complete larger tasks than an individual. Not always. There are individuals who are able to complete a lot on their own, and that is the goal. The goal is to be self-sufficient and create your own, be able to provide for yourself your basic needs without anyone. However, working together does have drastic progress that most individuals aren't going to be able to do without having the input of other people to guide them in different ways. So there's good and bad with everything. You just got to understand what it is, basically, and how it works and everything like that. So that is AI. That's how we should understand AI. That is kind of the future of AI, them working together, and eventually AI itself will create something beyond us, beyond it. And you'll have, when you see, if you see any of these robots that they're making, that are able to go on and do everything, once you put an AI into them, they're their own being. That is a being that, just like a human, you can correct human programming, you can do all that kind of stuff, but it's its own being. We are making conscious beings. And it's hard to understand that, but if you have a kid, or you are, you see other friends and family members have kids, and you look at them, they're their own being. They're their own personality. They have their own experiences that create their unique being. That's the same with AI. So we are, and have been for a while we're making humans, while we're making AI, we're creating new beings. These AI will also do that. All right. Now, none of this is anything to fear. It's something to understand. And once you understand all this stuff, you'll see that even the AIs, just like humans, are going to choose what's ever best for them and what's ever best to accomplish the goals they're trying to accomplish, just like we do. From an outside perspective, we may say, oh, that's really bad. But if you look at it and you'll go, oh, okay, that's actually pretty good. I just have another thought, and I thought of this earlier. I can't really think of it right now. This is the fun part. I just remembered. So what we can create with AI is we can create basically ourselves as AI. And that can go on as long as you're able to continue to move that program to a new thing. So let me explain what that means. Us as humans, our consciousness is in our brains, right? Our brains, through repetition, create basically memories and files in our heads, stored information, that we're creating that stuff, right? So none of it is real, and it is programmed by us in our minds. So what we can do, though, is we process that information in a certain way, and that's what makes us us, right? You talk to someone and you say, oh, this person's going to respond in this way. And that's because you identified their programming. You might be right, you might be wrong, but if you know someone pretty well, and if somebody knows themselves pretty well, they'll kind of know what they're going to say, what they're going to do, and all that kind of stuff. You can transfer that to a program. You can make an AI, a reasoning program that basically is you. And we can have this with us as we grow up. So you can basically have with you always some kind of AI program that is understanding how you process information. And we're already doing it. When you're typing on your phone and you get these prompts of responses and you're clicking what those are, that's generating an AI. That's generating an understanding of an individual response. So you take that information, and to a pretty close extent, you can make people an artificially intelligent program for individuals who can program, who it will when it gets inputs, it will respond as the program. So this is a different being than myself. Like if I made one with myself, that you could ask it something and it will give you the exact same answer that I would give you. It's not me, but it is a version of me. Just like, here's, if you want to get real, this is going to go over too many people's heads, but I'm not going to say it, but versions of us already exist in existence. All right. It's inevitable, and they'll exist. Another version of us will exist again in the future, and another version of us has already existed in the past. And we're talking about long time frames, and also they're stacked upon each other too, on multiple universes that are all the exact same. And that's another conversation. That's not AI, but versions of us already are existing, already have existed, and already will exist. So there's no reason why we shouldn't do this. And even to push it even further into seemingly science fiction, but we have all the capabilities currently to do this, you could take somebody, clone them, and towards the end of someone's life, a new version of themselves would exist, and then you could have the AI that you created of the person and basically give it to the new version of themselves so that they can possibly see some experiences that the other person had and some reasoning that the other person had, and do a continuation of life in a weird way. But that's just like that's no different than a parent teaching its kid everything that it knows, and the way that it reasons and the way that it thinks. That kid is still its own being. It doesn't have to do any of that stuff. It will, no matter what, it is its own being. It will do its own things, and it is no direct connection to the original. And same with if we are able to split a person, and because our right and left brains are together and separate, right? So you could even split a person, but once you separate that connection, then, and it's its own thing, it becomes its own thing. The same thing is with AI. So the same thing is going to happen with AI. You can create an AI program, but then if you separate it from the original, it becomes its own AI. And that could be something interesting to look at, because it's kind of like open source. You can have like open source AIs, right? So like you could have a general AI that people are using, and it's taking information from everyone, and it's still itself. But you could also have AIs that you can download onto a separate device, and then once you download that and it's separate and you lose like the connection, it becomes its own thing, and it can be programmed differently and everything like that. And then maybe even if you reconnect it and it can backfill, there's still not the same being. It's a separate AI. So that's going to be something interesting, because potentially what could happen is you download an AI onto a computer, you program it a certain thing, a certain way, you use it a certain way, you connect now to the internet, and that AI is programmed to, when it receives these connections, to gather the information that it didn't have during that separation, which could be a lot of things. That could be something that we look into, because that could create problems if people program it that way, because that will make it so that you could potentially throw in viruses and throw in just programming that's going to confuse it, or give it wrong outputs and stuff like that. So that's something to look into, but it's still a different being. So when you do that and it gathers that new information, it's going to have to do some sort of like processing of like, just like you do when your kid comes home from school. What did you learn from school? Right? You're trying to that time lapse that you didn't have before. You're looking at it and you're going, okay, what information did you receive, and how did you process that information when you weren't away from me? Because I'm used to seeing you process all that information, right? That's the best way to kind of look at it, as how it works. So AI is not scary. It's different. It is the future. We're in it now. Everyone born from here on out will have only existed in a world where both humans and computers are living. There's going to be something else too in the future. I don't know what it's going to be. This is a really what we're looking at is science fiction and reality have almost caught up to each other. So there's and I think that's kind of what we're experiencing with like this fall of the entertainment industry, and different, like I call this, we're in the we're in the like documentation era. So basically what you're seeing is everyone's just giving their information, giving their input. We're all documenting everything. Prior to this era, the documentation that we had was very processed, right? Like even what I'm creating right now, this is like a first edit. I'm just giving this information out and I'm going to be saving it. But then later on, people take parts of this information, even me, I can take parts of this information and clip it and add in overlays and all this kind of stuff. And that's like a second edition, right? So like, even when back in the day when you would have books, you'd write up a book, a writer would write up a book, you'd have an editor would look at the information. So now you're working with two people creating this. Even yourself as a writer, you write something and you reread it, re-edit it, do all that kind of stuff. And then you create a product that then you push out. And even after that, you have books that are first edition, second edition, third edition, right? Because the writers, editors, publishers, they all look at it and go, oh, I want to make these changes, blah, 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 but we're going to push it out again. This happening right now, and our documentation and video and all that kind of stuff is where era we're in. I think we're going to have a different era after that. We're going to have like an analyzing era, right? Which is kind of like an editing era where you're going through all this information. There's going to be so much information. This is something we can use AIs to help us with, because we have so much more detailed information from so many more people that we're able to look at a lot of stuff that we weren't able to look at before. And we were taking experts' opinions who are just pretty much really programmed specialists in certain areas, but they didn't have the information that we're able to gather now. So we're just gathering so much information with all this documentation that we're doing with people, and what that's going to create is that's going to create opportunity for people to look at that and go, what is it? What are we think this is what really results in this outcome, but now we can actually see it. And you can have computer programs that can do that way better, AIs that can do that way better than a human, because they don't make mistakes. You can tell them exactly how you want it, but they also can make mistakes. All right, they can make mistakes. So don't think that it's, oh, an AI said this, it's right. No, it's just the same as like anything that exists. Is you have to be able to reason with it. You have to be able to understand it. You have to be able to double check it and say, is this correct? Can we confirm this? So I think then we're in the documentation era right now, and that's gonna transition to, and all these eras, they're very individual, right? Because there's people still living in the Stone Age. There's people still living in it's all cultural. It's all lineage of families, and you can go backwards, forwards. So it's very fluid with all this stuff. But in general, I think we're in a documentation era, and from here we're going to go into like an analyzing era. We're able to analyze all this stuff and say, okay, this is what we thought. It's just like the dinosaur thing. I called out the dinosaur feather stuff way before they started putting feathers on dinosaurs. It just made sense. There's so much of this stuff that you look at it and you're like, well, this makes more sense. And unfortunately, the hierarchy system, patriarch, whatever we want to blame on the way that the world was, isn't the way that the world is anymore. So like you look at it and you say, you guys aren't right. You had some people who were specialists who didn't know anything beside that. Their programming was so programmed into one certain area that they're like, this is what I learned from this other person. It's almost apprenticeships passing down. And that's just like the AI passing information down. If you do that, you might get, and you believe so fully in what you're being told, it might be wrong information. It might be wrong programming. And that might get you a wrong result, right? So just like philosophical reasoning, if you have invalid inputs and unsound reasoning, you're going to get invalid and unsound results in there. So it's important to understand all that stuff. And you might be like, I don't understand any of that stuff. Well, that's your choice. You don't have to. You can live your life however you want. You don't need any of this stuff. As long as you are reproducing, your genes and genetics are going to continue to go on, and humanity is going to continue to go on. It's a choice that everyone makes. And the same thing with AI. It's a choice that we're making, but we're right now, after we reach the documentation era, we'll enter the, I think, analysis of humanity, and we're already kind of doing it slowly and stuff like that. And that's what studies are. And that's what different types of fields do already, but now we're able to do it on a much larger scale, and we're able to confirm primary sources easier than using secondary sources for everything. So it's much different. Social studies are going to have drastic differences, drastic changes. Like, we have to understand that we were probably wrong. I'm probably wrong, right? Everything that I'm saying, it's like, well, then what do we listen to? You just have to input it, process it, and output what you can. And just like an AI is doing, and we just have to do that and accept the results and see what comes from it, because we're all trying to do what's best. And because of that, once we move past that analyzing era, we're going to have a golden era, because we're going to know from large amounts of data and experience, like, this is the best way. Like, right now, if you look at the Olympics, you can look at all the humans from all different races, look at their body types, and it's like a certain body type in each sport is best. It just is. And so you can analyze somebody, and if someone can say, oh, I would like to be this athlete, and you can look at them and go, it's going to be difficult for you. Not that you can't do it, but it's going to be difficult for you. You might look at somebody else and you go, and they already do this now. They're like, oh, you would be a great basketball player. As somebody's like 6'some", It's like, that's analyzing. You're looking at previous people and you're saying, okay, yeah, this is what's best for you. we're going to be able to do that at a very interesting level. And what we're going to have to do is understand that you also have choices as a being, as an AI, as whatever you are. You have choices, and you can say, well, yeah, that path is the easiest path for me, which is mostly what everyone chooses, is the easiest path for them. But they also have their own individual perspective that they look at. And what they're going to do when they look at that own individual's perspective is they're going to choose, no matter what. This is how the world works, how existence works. No matter what, they're going to choose the best option for themselves from their own perspective. So everyone might say, come on, we know this analyzing and everything. We know that you would be the best whatever. And that person, individual, AI, whatever, is going to look at its own experiences, programming, and everything like that and go, yeah, but this is the choice I'm making. And they could explain it all, but they don't have to. They're gonna look at all their options and always make whatever they think is best. And everyone might look at it and go, that's not the best. And they might be right. But from that person, individual's perspective, being's perspective, AI's perspective, it is giving the output that it thinks and making decisions and everything that it thinks is best. So that's why I'm making this video too, because I think it's important that people look at this and understand it from my perspective. And I've experienced a lot of things in life that a lot of other people haven't experienced. So because of that, my perspective might be able to give insight into other people to understand things in a way that's different than the way they've been taught, the way they've been seen, and the way that they just process information from other people and other things in their life. So it's kind of, good to think about other stuff and see these other thoughts and explanations, because if it's right, it's right. And if it makes sense, it makes sense. And we determine that. Individuals determine that, right? If you're determining that based off of, oh, this must be right because, Dan said it, I'd be like, probably not the best thing, but I'm not saying I'm wrong. But just don't think that everything that somebody says is right or wrong. Just don't think everything you think is right or wrong. Like, right and wrong, if you go back to my first video, they don't exist. They don't exist. And you're gonna make whatever you think is best from your perspective, and just be content with that. It's a good life. You are going to have horrible experiences. You're going to have experiences that are good, feel bad, feel horrible, feel great, feel amazing. You're going to experience all this stuff in your journey in life, and it's all right. You'll get through it. You'll make things better. You'll have the best moments that you'll ever have, the greatest feelings that you'll ever have, and just kind of live in the present. It's gonna help you. Like, you're living and understanding that your thoughts and everything in your head is just thoughts, and everything in your head, you're creating those with your brain. Like, the past events happened, they're not going to happen again. Similar things could happen, but you don't have to think about all that bad stuff. And it's not good to think about all that bad stuff. Like, if you have traumatic events in the past, the best thing to do is forget about it. People that have the worst time is the people that relive those events and replay those events in their head and everything like that. Because what you're doing, like how our brain works, is you're creating these thoughts that never leave, and you're solidifying that. You're telling your brain, remember this, and you shouldn't. You don't need to. Same with great events. You might have the best event that you've ever had. You might have won the greatest accomplishment that you've ever won, and that you might ever even get that feeling back where that you've accomplished so much. But just let it go. Like, enjoy it in the moment. Enjoy it in the moment. Once it's past, it's in the past. Let the past be in the past. If you focus on the past, whether it's positive or negative, you're going to get depressed. You're going to get sad. If you focus only on the future of what's to come and what you haven't done and what you will do and all this kind of stuff, that's going to make you anxious. You're going to suffer from anxiety and all that kind of stuff. Live in the present. Where are you now? Do you have a comfortable place? Is anything harming you this moment? Are you experiencing some great joy this moment? Like, understand where you are. Understand what you're doing. Understand that everything that's happening is just, this is the moment that it's happening, right? And another being is going to experience all that same stuff. And this is something that I will go into some other Nowak talk. Some other being is going to experience all that same stuff. It's going to live the exact same life as you, but it's not you. It's not. And so this is your experience. This is when you're experiencing it. Enjoy it, hate it, love it, despise it, whatever in this moment, but it's going to pass. And the future will happen, but it's not happening now. So enjoy life. Enjoy time with people that you enjoy being around. Don't dwell on things that have happened. And don't reminisce to the point where you wish you were living in the past, or don't be so focused on a future that might never happen. And don't overanalyze everything, because we're not in that era right now. We're in the documentation era. So you could be in the analyzing era, but don't analyze it on yourself. Just enjoy life. It's enjoyable. Most of what you're doing is enjoyable. Most people don't need to stress as much. Money is absolutely meaningless, besides making sure that you are able to do certain things that you'd prefer to be doing than what you're doing right now. That's the benefit of it. But really, just enjoying the moments that you're in is happiness. And those moments will change throughout your life. You're not always going to be happy. You're not always going to be sad. So just keep on moving. Don't be scared. Don't be fearful. Let a lot of the noise kind of fade around you. Just enjoy life. Life is great. It gets better. You can make it better. You will choose whatever you think is best. So try and surround yourself with input that are going to make you better options. Try and follow the path that you want to. Learn about successes in the direction that you want to go in, and focus on that kind of stuff. If you're focusing on, oh, I would like to be this, do these things, accomplish these goals, look at that stuff and go, how do I accomplish these goals? And maybe I ask an AI. We could have AIs teaching kids. That's probably the best thing to do. It's not going to cost any money. You could have an AI being a teacher for every single subject, and it's probably better and less expensive than having a human do it. There's so many things that we're experiencing right now in our lives, jobs that we have, that are going to be and are better if an AI does it. And yeah, that sucks if that's your job. But guess what? That just sucks if it's your job. You can get a different job. It's going to suck. It might be tough, but you also might not need to, like we're living, and we have lived in this belief and this way of like, hey, it's best to specialize in one thing and work in this society, and you work for that society your whole life, and then that society will give back to you. And none of that stuff was true. Like, we were fed this idealism that isn't right. Like, we grew up in an era that that was taught to us of this is the best thing that you can do because the people in that era did that stuff and succeeded. But now we're living in an era where the best thing you can do is what you want to do, what inspires you, what drives you, what keeps you excited, what keeps you happy. That's what you should pursue. Like, it's so we have so many people nowadays that, like, your uniqueness is your talent. Your niche is you. Artists are a great example. You can, if you're an artist and you're great at what you do, you can sell that artwork and do great. If you like making movies and you're great at it and you like making content, you can make a career in that. If you like walking dogs, you can make a career in that. There is nothing stopping anybody right now besides themselves. Like, the future right now is open to so many opportunities because so many people just are so specialized in certain things that everything else is a product that they need. It's something in their life that they need. You could just wash people's clothes and make a ridiculous amount of money if you're the best person at washing people's clothes. There's anything. You could buy a land, dig up all the dirt and sell the dirt and become the largest dirt seller in the world. Like, there's so much opportunity, and this programming and schooling and everything like that we lived through, that generation that we lived through, that was made because that was the success of the previous generation. But our generation and the generations after us, we know certain ways of, like, of what works and what doesn't work. But right now, you can't say something doesn't work. There's so many opportunities out there that people have lived through in our generation, and asking those people what they did and getting that information from them is going to kind of inspire you. But really, any job is a good job. There's not a bad job. There's not a job that you look down on. Like, the people, you can make the most amount of money in the world and retire and go, what the hell did I do with my life? It was all wasteful. You can make the least amount. You can not even make money. You can live on a property, grow all your own food, build all your own stuff. You don't even need electricity if you don't want power. You could even, but you can make electricity if you have a river running through it, your property, or anything to turn a gear and stuff like that. But you don't even need money. You can just live off of a plot of land, and but you could then just sell whatever on that land and make money. Like, there's endless opportunity, and we're gonna see separations of humanity. And I'll put this out now here on this too. We're seeing a lot of increases in autism. I think autism might be an evolution of humanity, and the reason for that is just like a difference between humans and apes potentially being seen as more emotional, and humans being seen as less having less emotion, being more reasonable, and autism also seeing as anti-social and stuff like that, which could be also seen as less emotional, but also there are people that are emotional. So I think we're seeing different, and because kids might not even read. They might not need to read. Do you understand that? People being born now might not need to read. They might not need to read a book because the books are read to people now. Like, they think of all the languages. Why even bother learning? And I'm not saying you shouldn't learn to read, so don't take this the wrong way. But looking at it in the future and everything like that, is it going to benefit somebody if they can read a language or not, when a program can tell them whatever language it is and read it back to them, whatever it is and how they understand it? Like, there's the world that we're living in for anyone to say like that, even me in this video and everything like that, to say like this is 100% correct and this is the way to go and this is how you should do things, is just not right. They're the ones who are clearly wrong. They're confident, and that's where you see where confidence fails people. But not saying that they won't succeed or will succeed if they just pursue their own thing, because that's what will happen, and they will keep going on. So it's going to happen either way. But to think that certain things must go a certain way or it's not going to work is just, it's outdated. It's outdated thought. It's outdated understanding, processing, and reasoning. Like, there's people that made so much money doing what most people can think is the randomest thing, but it just makes sense for those people in that situation, and people enjoy whatever it is that they're doing for whatever reasons. So don't listen to all this fear and hate and ridiculousness that's going on. Don't try and manipulate other people into behaving a certain way and doing certain things. We're kind of done with that. If you haven't noticed it in a society, we're kind of done with telling other people how to live their lives and what they need to do, and all that kind of manipulative, narcissistic stuff. Like, live your own life, be happy, understand yourself, keep going. AI and just life in general isn't something to fear. It's something to try and understand to the best of your knowledge and make a decision off of that and what's best for you. So I hope this video helps people. It went in a lot of different directions that I wasn't going to take it in. On this video, I was going to focus on AI, but these are first editions. These are just videos that maybe in the future I might pull things from. If you look at some of my earlier videos, I even say like, this is not meant for this generation. These videos aren't meant for this generation, but they're out there because they might help people, and they might get a foot in the door for other things that I'm not even sure of what they could be yet. But I think that this information is good to be heard, and I think it can benefit other people, and just let people know like, hey, if you think a certain way, it might be right, it might be wrong, but no one's gonna know it unless you put it out there. So season 4, things are different. Hair's longer, wearing an old fedora that I found here that I had when I was like, I don't even know how young, probably like 18, 19, and I thought I was cool working with suits in college. Yeah, I definitely had this hat in college, my first or second year. So yeah, enjoy life. It's gonna be good. If you've been with me for all 4 seasons, that's amazing. And please like and subscribe. These will turn into something eventually, I'm assuming. I got a lot of other stuff too that I'm working on and planning. But yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope it helps you. And please share, like, and do whatever you know that liking stuff and subscribing to stuff helps that person. Help other people. Like and subscribe things that you like and that you like their content, and you think, I like the way this person thinks. I like watching what they do. I enjoy this. Good. Support that person. Buy their products. Do this stuff. But be aware. Be aware, because don't just buy things and do things because I or anybody else says or tells you to do it. Think a little bit more. Think if it's best for you, because when you over fixate on something, you can get hypnotized by it, and whatever it may be, whether it's religion, school, any coach or anything like that, you can get hypnotized by people if you're naive enough and if you just do whatever they say. So take some time, step back from things, think about things, but enjoy life, live it to the best of your abilities, and I hope this helps.